Hi everyone, welcome to the Tree Folks Neighborwoods instructional video on tree planting depth. I'm Stephenie and I'm a certified Urban Forest Steward through Tree Folks program. Today we're going to talk about planting depth, and I've got a tree, a good example here. I'm sure I haven't looked at it, but a good example of how low or how high to place the tree in the ground. One of the things that's easy to remember is too high, never die, too low, never grow. So the biggest concern we have when we're planting a tree is the depth of the root collar. A root collar is what we can see here, which is buried in my tree. Ooh, not good. Oh, I found it. Right down there. So what I need to do is make sure that when I take this out of the pot, that where the root flare comes out, there we go. So what I need to do when I take this out of the pot, that the root flare for this tree is not buried like you just saw me have it. Now, I'm a known tree torturer. I like to make sure that the trees that I have are going to live, so I guess I put them through the stress test of putting them in pots and up-potting them. So we're going to unpot this and see how low or how much root we have and how deep the roots are. And my expectation of this is that there will be some actual girdling roots in my pot. I probably have had this tree 2 to 3 years. I've up-potted it, but, we'll see how it goes. So when removing your tree from the pot, it's very important that you check the roots inside and make sure they're not girdled. One of the things I'm going to do here is step on this, kind of loosen the roots from around the edges, and then pull it out, or pull the bucket back and see what we have. Alright, so I'm running my own videos. We'll see how this goes. Oh, actually, so far it doesn't look so bad. So I'm going to check this root ball out and thoroughly make sure that there's no girdling roots and find that all-important root flare. So there's another saying you might want to remember is leave the flare bare. Okay, so when you put stuff up against that flare, it introduces opportunities for many problems. Okay everyone, now I have teased out the roots to see what's going on, to ensure that none of my roots were girdled. And typically my roots from my pots, because I do torture them for so long, do have what we would call a girdling root. The only root that looks suspicious, it looks like it corrected because it's actually going down now, is maybe this one. This one might get cut. So because we don't want these roots to tangle themselves and choke themselves off, because what that will do is essentially as the tree grows, it'll just start that process of decline and eventually kill itself. So a lot of girdling roots that are hidden under the ground we can't see are the actual, quote, root cause of the problem. Okay, so now what we need to do is dig our hole. And one of the things we need to consider is how low is this tree going to set. And now that I've looked at the tree itself, how deep do I need to dig it? But more importantly, we want to actually spread these roots out so that they actually fan out. Unlike when they were in this pot where they were vertical, naturally the tree's roots are going to look like the bottom of a wine glass and fan out from that root flare that we're discussing right there. Okay, you can see now that I've put the tree back in its pot for just a minute, threw its own soil back on it, and removed the cardboard for where I had planned to place it. So now I have a good way to know where I need to dig and how wide to dig it. I'm going to start out at least to where you see these soil droppings from the cardboard, and not go too deep, because the worst thing we can do is put that root flare underground, because remember, too high never die, too low never grow. Okay, I briefly wanted to stop what I was doing and show you some of my techniques for digging. One of the key things here is this is St. Augustine grass, so the roots aren't too deep, they're very shallow. And what I've done is I've taken my spade and I've just scraped off the top of the grass, so that when I go to dig and make my hole, hopefully a lot of that, I won't be including a lot of that St. Augustine that's in there. And that's the pile that I have dug or scraped off the top so far. Now you can see the circle that I've scraped that St. Augustine off from in preparation to dig the hole. One of the key things is that we don't need to go deep. Remember, too high never die, too low never grow. We need to go wider when we dig. Okay, everyone, I wanted to share a small issue that I came upon when I was digging my hole. So I had to, and to explain why I have made an adjustment. If you can see where the handle is pointing at that tree root, was dead center in the middle of the hole I had chosen. So I have adjusted the hole to the left and just continued on from there, because I don't want, that tree is important and I don't want to cut it or damage it. And the trees share the ground, so the roots of this tree will go over here and the roots of this tree will just keep being happy wherever it's going. Everyone, I've dug my tree roots back out of the bucket that I had temporarily placed them in, and as I went to start to place the roots, I saw this that I wanted to show you. So this is certainly a root that will need to be trimmed, because the way it is going now, it's just going to circle on itself and choke itself off. So rather than letting that happen, we're just going to eliminate that as a problem. As a reminder, our goal here is to keep this root flare that you see where these roots essentially go around the tree in the other direction. We want to keep that flare exposed. So the height of this tree needs to be planted such that the roots that you currently see all sort of in a bundle get spread out, and that this flare is not below ground level. In fact, too high never die, too low never grow. So if it's a little high, that's okay. Okay, everyone, now you can see that I have placed the tree in the hole, and I have flared these roots out. This is not a taproot tree, meaning that there isn't one specific big root that goes straight down and looks for water individually. What this is a tree that essentially its roots will search around rather than straight down for that water source. Okay, here you can see where I've just taken the soil that was originally in the bucket that came with the tree and poured it around the roots that I had shown you earlier. And what I specifically did with this tree's roots is, knowing that there was this other tree root right there, and the fact that the roots on this tree seemed like they wanted to go in a single direction, I just set it that way because over there, away from this root that we found. Now notice here where I've laid the handle, the broken handle of my little pickaxe, to see that I have placed it in a location that's not too low. And when I backfill more of the dirt that I just dug out, we'll make sure that that remains high and doesn't sink while we do it. That's very important. Too high, never die. Too low, never grow. Okay, now I've poured a bucket of the original soil that was in the ground and mixed it with the soil that came from the bucket. And what I'm going to do next is pour some water on it so that settles before I add the rest of the dirt, so I can make sure that the root layer of this tree doesn't get dirty. Okay everyone, I wanted to show you what the final product looked like, and also when I water it, how we will see that root flare become exposed once again. And to show you, I've got my soil berm here to hopefully hold some water in when it rains. This tree won't be getting too much. There you go. You can see my root flare come showing through. And I'm just going to keep watering, and once I get done with watering, I'll come back and I'll mulch it. But for the most part, you can see what's happening now with our little soil berm that is helping hold this water in and fully watering these new tree roots. Happy tree roots. Okay folks, we're back. It's a little later in the afternoon because I took a break and went over and chipped some of my own mulch for the first time. My sweet neighbor let me borrow his chipper. So I used that, and now I've got it in a wheelbarrow. I'm going to put it on our newly planted tree. And what we're going to make sure is that when we put the mulch on, that we're not going to put any mulch up around that root flare. We're going to let it be exposed to the air and just cup up around it like you can see has been done with the soil. And the mulch itself will do a couple things for the tree, but most of all it'll help protect its roots and keep them moist and not let them dry out. Okay, we've got all the mulch around the tree now. You can see where we've sort of made like a little basket for the water to run towards the roots that the tree we just put in, and we've left the all-important root flare bare, and we are actually not going to stake this tree. And I would say the whole amount of mulch I used was probably equal to one of a full bag of mulch for this tree here. And now it's super happy and it's going to just flourish. So thanks everyone for taking the time to stick outside with me and enjoy your day.